Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Oz and Crew Reviews podcast. I'm your host, Ozzy. With me, as always, is my co host, Mad Matt.
I don't have any picket signs. I think they're going to kick somebody's ass.
And joining us once again for the occasional one off is our friend Ojunix.
You're coming with me, dead or alive.
So,
Both of them have to stay
to
close.
start things off, we're reviewing Robocop 2 today. Ojunix was not with us for the review of Robocop 1. So just so people get an idea of where you stand on it before we start, what were your just how did you feel about RoboCop 1 overall?
I enjoy it and still greatly enjoy it. It's what I would call within the top 20 movies you should see from its
Time
era,
period.
time period, yes. It's a movie that not only fits from the time period it was made, but it still holds up for how well the time period it came from.
Yeah. I mean that's what was the case with all the best movies. Like if you watch it years later and you're just like none of this makes any sense, it wasn't a well-written movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as is usually the case, Matt, you want to start us off with a synopsis?
All right. Quick synopsis for RoboCop 2. I would assume this takes place sometime within, like, say, a few months or a year or so after the initial events of RoboCop 1. Um, Essentially, RoboCop is already kind of on the shelf, if you will. Actually, I would assume this is probably within a month or so after the first one because the police officers are still on strike. OCP is struggling to get them to get back to work because too many of them are still getting injured, and the few that are still working are still getting heavily injured, if not murdered. Um, to which they are cooking up the plan to try and get a bigger upgrade for RoboCop other than just upgrading Murphy, and they are still continuing to try and plow ahead forward with the plans to redo Detroit, and to that they also have a subplot where they basically undermine the government and are trying to take over the city from the government because they can't make payments
Yeah,
to keep the police going.
they basically bankrupted them and made them owe them more money than they could feasibly raise.
Hmm.
Mm.
So there's a big tongue-in-cheek thing going on with them where they're constantly trying to find ways to raise money for the majority of the rest of the movie when they appear. Um, and the mayor is having a freak out about it when in private.
That, that's one way of putting it.
Um, so the biggest thing that's going on though right now is that they introduced this new drug called Nuke, which is causing a lot of euphoria, but also causing a lot of people to kind of go brain numb, if you will, if they use too much of it, etc. Also, it's also very highly addictive. It'll start giving you twitches and everything else if you don't have enough of it after a while. Um, and behind this is a criminal known as only as Kane, who basically sees himself as a messiah, if you will, and uses and abuses his power very frequently whenever possible, while also still continuing to try and sell the drug, while also making new variants of it to help with air quotes other issues, like certain. Basically, the drug is supposed to help with certain versions of melancholy and other issues people might be having to specifically suss out and find a bigger audience, if you will, for people who would willingly buy this drug and get addicted to it. Um, he also employs several characters outside of. I'm trying to think now. He one of the main characters he has as side is a young boy named Hob, who is fairly relatively fresh faced, but does go around helping to sell the drug. And I'm trying to find where
I think the
the actress
girl's name is Angie, and
Angie.
she doesn't have a profile pic on
Yeah.
IMDb.
Angie, who seems to be his right side gal and might be a bit more than just a cohort. But she's frequently around too and also helps organize things as well as be an extra gun when needed.
Mhm.
Um, They managed to set it up that at some point they managed to get a hold of Robocop. While they aren't able to necessarily completely do what they would want to with him, they do manage to, after I don't know how many hours of basic torture with different tools, manage to saw him apart at the joints, rip them off for certain parts that would be meltable and resellable, and continue to fund their drug products, and then just leave his parts essentially right out the front of the police department. To which Murphy's left in a huge amount of pain. His life support system's barely holding on as he sits there and mostly twitches and groans. However, it's decided that since he needs to be reholed or something, and Robocop 2 is not yet in any way, shape, or form ready, they need to do something to at least save face at OCP. So they do piece them back together, but also get a lot of opinions from a lot of bad baskets and just basically silly, nonsensical things that shouldn't be worried about when you need to be more worried about actually fighting crime.
Parent groups.
One of them, yeah, it's definitely the parent group where it called out, why does he have to use his gun? Why can't he just talk to people? In a crime-ridden city where everyone shoots first and asks questions later, that's not exactly helpful. So when RoboCop comes back, they have instead of the main three
directives,
He's got
he has over
400.
200. Yeah. I saw 230 something. And I'm like, oh god.
Well, I think when they got to the bottom of the list, they were at 437. It was it was absurd.
It was absurd,
And
if he was allowed to feel anything, I guarantee you Murphy was in mental pain trying to keep up with these absurd things.
And the thing is, when you shove that many things in there, you know some of them are contradicting each other.
Oh yeah,
and causing a lot of issues, which is why when Lewis gets him back on the road to just see how things are going, he very quickly starts to show that he's kind of lost in the sauce. First, he completely ignores they're being shot at. Then he tries to read the Miranda rights to a corpse. And then he tries to essentially Saturday morning cartoon tell kids that what they're doing is wrong levels of trying to talk these kids down who are literally there just a little while ago beating a man with a baseball bat and robbing him of all his electronic devices from the store.
We were seconds away of RoboCop going, no, a kid goes, now I know, and RoboCop replying, and knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, he basically turned into a PSA in the middle of a crime scene.
And yet I feel like
very annoying out of left field one too. So the kids obviously weren't in it and ran for the hills.
And I feel like old cartoon PSAs were better done than that.
Yeah, old Saturday morning cartoon PSAs would have been more tactful and shorter than his rambling.
Mm-hmm.
So once they figure out what's going on, they give Lewis and others a short list of what they could possibly do to possibly get rid of all these contradictory things going on in his system. But a lot of them would be risking his life, to which one of them was basically electrifying him, but that they were worried that it would possibly shut down his life support systems, to which the Alex Murphy, still inside of there, still managed to take control of things, guide him right outside to the
circuit box.
The big conductor right outside the police office, and essentially hook himself up to it to immediately shock himself. They managed to pry him off. Lewis smacked him off of it with a giant 2x4. And as they're starting to carry him back into the office, he actually starts to come to and starts to gather himself up again. By the time he gets back up and he has a search through his restrictions, he no longer has restrictions. Alex Murphy is now free to be Alex Murphy.
Yeah. He doesn't even have the original 3 directives. He has 0 directives.
He is now just Alex, running on his own intuition.
Yeah. Main thing is he no longer is the one that will protect OCP employees.
That as well. So immediately, the first thing that they ask him is he all right? He's absolutely not all right, because Kane is still out there. After hours and hours of torture from Kane, and then being set upon by OCP, he's absolutely had enough of it, and gets the entirety of the police force over at that particular precinct to finally join him, get back on the streets, and go get the hell Kane and the hell off the streets. Essentially, almost bedridden him as he's hooked up to machines afterwards to keep on life support going for him, but manages to finally stop and get rid of most of his crime bosses and his goons, and put a complete stop and standstill to his drug production. So this looks like it could be the end of the movie, but we're only at the halfway point of this. So what happens is that Kane now becomes the prime subject for Fox, the woman who's at OCP trying to make the new Robocop 2, because she believes if you can offer something to the new Robocop, that'll make them more pliable for what they want them to do, despite them being originally criminals.
Yeah.
Not a good idea, because once again, no matter how much you put on that brain, there's still underlying surface level of what was the original person there.
Yeah.
And Alex is prime suspect on that one. So despite this, she pulls the plug on Kane, gets the people to come down there to help remove his brain and become the new test subject. Literally as they're showing him his own face, by the way, because they still kept his brain, his spine, and his eyes. Excuse me. They put him into the new machine. They offer him the drug that keeps him calm and sedated, which is more nuke, but only if he goes off and does some work for them, which OCP now wants the mayor dead. So the mayor is actually set up at a meeting to meet the person who's going to donate a huge amount of money to help save Detroit. He shows up and it turns out to be Hob the Kid with Angie at his side, and they're planning to donate over $50 million to help keep the city afloat. And they're fine with continuing the war on drugs as long as they still get to do business, because they also are, believe it or not, high-end employers. As much as they want to fight with the idea that at the same time they're foobarred either way. Either they take the offer from a bunch of drug dealers, or they
Lose the city.
taken over and removed by OCP and lose the city. So they're about to make the deal when Kane, as the new Robocop 2, shows up, shoots up the place. One by one starts picking off the stragglers, manages to shoot Hob while he's sitting inside of a bulletproof van, which had the money in it, and manages to only lose one person, which happens to be the mayor himself, as he escapes through essentially the water system that gets out of the factory.
Yeah, he basically jumped down a sewer lid or sewer entrance.
I think Angie got the worst outcome out of everybody in that warehouse.
Yeah, she basically had her spine rolled up like a windowsill. Just snap, crackle, pop, and then toss back to the ground like a rag doll.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Angie's no longer part of it. Robocop shows up a little while later and is released with Hob for his last couple of moments of life, and gets the information he needs, which is that it's Kane, and there's obviously something going on here. And that was he was Kane inside of a thing that was bigger than him. So he goes to armor himself and also see if he can figure out where Kane's hiding, to which OCP has basically already declared that their takeover is going to be final for the city, and start applying to the public what their plans are for new Detroit, and also the new Robocop 2 model, which starts to freak out in front of everybody as the thing of nuke gets waved around in front of him.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to pacify him, he immediately goes to attack people if he doesn't get it. To which Robocop shows up just in time to open fire, but doesn't immediately, but it basically calls out that it's Kane still and he needs to be arrested and stopped. To which Kane manages to free himself from the controller system, rearms himself, and starts opening fire on literally everybody and anybody in the building.
Mm-hmm.
The private police force of OCP, the news people, as well as the bystanders and any of the OCP people just get fired upon. And Robocop starts laying into him with essentially another high-end rifle that has explosive ammunition.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be an anti-tank rifle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He manages to escape into an elevator shaft. Robocop 2 gives pursuit, is dropped, launches himself back up, and the both of them end up on the roof temporarily, where RoboCop forces the both of them to take a tumble off the OCP building, and both of them survive,
Well, naturally.
literally smashing actually right into the sub basement underneath the streets. Their chase gives further pursuit. Robo has to find other means to track him, while RoboCop 2 gets to the street level and starts just messing things up. Eliminates at least 4 or 5 police officers. Robo goes back inside and grabs the nuke, and finally gets a ceasefire out of Kane to try and get the nuke. To which he then uses the opportunity to sneak up behind RoboCop 2 or Kane. I guess we'll just go with Kane, and manages to finally get into his systems, pry open a plate, and literally pull Kane's brain out of the machine, and finally destroys it, giving him a digital freak-out face moment on the screen of the machine before he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And OCP is going to blame everything on Miss Fox, as she was the one who picked the brain.
Yep.
And as Alex and Lewis and Murphy are off to one side, talking as things start to piece themselves together. Lewis comments, "I can't believe they get away with it," and Murphy's just like, "Give it time, all in today's work," and starts to unscrew his helmet to replace it because it got wrecked in the fight. And that is basically Robocop 2.
Just remember, we're only human.
Only human. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's right. Just remember, they're only human.
So, what were your guys' like favorite scenes in this?
Probably the it's kind of a tie between either the first fight scene with RoboCop and the gangs, or I want to say the third time, because the second time RoboCop does the dumb thing of going by himself and gets destroyed because of it.
It's absolutely wrecked. Yeah, they had a trap set for him, that one.
Yeah, but the third time he's got a whole army behind him, so RoboCop gets to be a badass again. But overall, I think if I have to pick, it's definitely the final fight with RoboCop versus RoboCop 2, aka Robocane.
What about you, Matt?
Robocane is a pretty good one. I think it was a pretty satisfactory ending, even if a little hokey. I definitely have to say that the last gang fight was a big one. That was actually my quote at the beginning of the episode here was bystanders watching all these cops suddenly running down the street. They're like, "I don't see any picket signs. Somebody's about to get their ass kicked."
You see that big cop first?
Like 5, 10, 15, 20 cop cars just racing by, sirens going, and it's like, cops have been on strike for who knows how long at this point. Yeah. Oh no, someone's in danger.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, I think the exact line was, "They're gonna kick someone's ass."
It's like we.
Oh yeah, that was a good line. That was a really good line.
It is.
Yeah,
it's that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that all the action scenes were good. I think the most interesting scene was actually the moment when Kane shows up at the warehouse to kill the mayor and just tears through everybody. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, there were some comical moments in that, like the freaking sleazeball that we didn't mention this in the synopsis. One of the mayor's own aides was ratting him out to OCP, so that's the reason Kane knew where they were. Yep. And this fucking sleazeball tries to sneak out and get away, but Kane must have like a heat detector to know that he's outside the building.
Robo had it too, so
yeah, because he's still shooting at the guy, even though he didn't even see him go through the door.
Yeah. You could sort of figure maybe he either knew he had some kind of sensor, because once he finishes actually shooting and the guy falls down dead firmly, you see the lights that were coming through the bullet holes start walking away, meaning he now knows he was dead.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because first the guy you think he might actually get away because he manages to get to cover, and he's okay for a second, but then he runs out of cover to try and get further away, and there's way too much open area there. It's like if the thing is still shooting at you, you're not going to make it to the next set of cover. And of course,
Yeah.
he takes a shot in the shoulder, falls down, and instead of doing the intelligent thing of just pretending you're dead, he gets back up and eats some more bullets and dies.
Yeah.
Like, if you take a shot that knocked you down, don't immediately get back up.
Yeah, and it's clear those things were shooting almost maybe semi armor piercing to a degree.
Because they were going through a metal door.
Well,
Went through a
yeah,
metal wall.
an armored truck on top of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was a weird moment where Angie realized it was Kane and was trying to hit on him even though he's a robot. But then the kill all witnesses thing kicked in and he literally just shattered her
Y-
everything.
Her, yeah, grabs her by the skull, and you just hear nothing but.
Crack, snapple, pop, and
Yeah.
plop.
Yeah, and it just drops her body like a sack of potatoes.
But I like that the mayor got away because even though he's
Yeah.
kind of a buffoon, he's also kind of a lovable buffoon throughout the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, he's not. It's like, yeah, he was willing to make a deal with criminals, but the thing is, he didn't do anything wrong. He's just trying to save a city from being literally owned by an evil corporation.
Yeah,
It's
and-
just he
and
basically was going for the lesser evil as far as he was concerned.
yeah, it's like early in the movie when that you find out the situation. He's just saying, this is bullshit. He's saying this bullshit repeatedly.
Freaking out at everybody.
Like when he leaves the office after their talk, like you open the door, you see a couple of employees of OCP just walking by, and he just screams at them, "This is bullshit!" They're like, "What is? We're just working here."
Yeah. Because you guys mentioning the scene with RoboCop 2 versus RoboCop, and Matt mentioned the artillery he showed up with. I'm pretty positive that rifle was the same kind of rifle that Clarence Boddicker's crew were using in the end of the first movie.
It's a different model, but I would not surprise me if it's intended to be the same or similar rifle. Yes.
It's just that RoboCop 2 is more heavily armored than RoboCop, so he took several.
Also more heavily armored than Ed.
Yeah, he took several shots from it and did not go down.
Yeah. I also just love the fact, Robocop 1 was.
Well, also to be fair, Robo was never directly hit by those shots either. So,
But I think maybe we should go over the list of new characters and say what we thought about them because we can't really say too
we
much.
already kind of went over the mayor.
Yeah, the
Pretty
mayor.
much.
The mayor was a lovable idiot,
Yeah.
and admittedly, at near the end when the old man CEO is like trying to show off what he's going to change to the city, the mayor actually threw some pretty good points at him, like about why this is wrong. You're not elected. He's like, well, they can buy stock. What's more democratic than that? The fact that people can't afford stock, you fucking old idiot. Which is actually how out of touch actual CEOs in real life are.
Yeah.
Very much.
But let's go through the list as they're shown on IMDb. We got Juliet Fox, played by Belinda Bauer, the insanely manipulative psychiatrist that manages to take over the RoboCop 2 program.
Because she clearly is sleeping with the boss.
Yes.
It's heavily implied, at least. Yes.
She comes in while he's in a hot tub, and she just shows up in a very skimpy robe and not even sure if she's even wearing anything under it.
Don't know, but she was serving tea and stuff.
Yeah, and she has the brilliant, bright idea of let's put a criminal brain inside RoboCop 2 because we can manipulate them.
Because manipulation's the best way to go, right?
Yes, because you want the defender of your city be a manipulative crime lord in it.
Because she and well, the thing is, she obviously got to where she is by being manipulative.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
no
She
kidding.
she used all that lovely psychotherapy she learned about to twist people's heads
Yeah.
and work her way to the top that way.
Why do psychiatrists always seem to, especially in movies, always seem to come off very malicious?
Depends. Depends on
Because
the movie.
there's not a lot of good storyline uses for a good psychiatrist.
Mm.
Yeah, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is literally the psychiatrist at the end of Psycho.
Yeah.
Just kind of explains what Norman's state of mind is.
And I will say, even though he's a returning character, we should talk about uh, the old man, the CEO, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
he gets a lot more time to play the old man, and he's a different character in this one.
yeah,
Yeah.
he went from being the voice of reason that wanted his company to do what was right in the first movie to I want to take over the city by any means necessary in this movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, to some degree, maybe he still thinks he's trying to do good for the city. He's just
He's
now
fallen far
he's
from that
yeah.
branch though at this point.
The thing is,
I'll just say
it's hard to claim that ground when you authorize the attempted murder of a mayor.
Yeah,
true. I'm not didn't yeah.
yeah, he's officially slipped at this point. He's gone full corruption mode.
He does, however, in my opinion, have the best line in the movie,
Oh yeah.
where RoboCop and RoboCop 2 are fighting, and he just yells, "Behave yourselves!"
I, I feel
Pause
like
for a second. Da, 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 da.
I was gonna say I feel like the Robocops just kind of want to like look at him going, oh, and then go back to fight each other little little bratty children.
Um, the next character on the list that's important is I'd say Kane.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's interesting, but I don't feel like they gave him much time to work his character.
No, he's basically a cult leader / drug lord.
Yes, yes. Which is
If anything, his sidekicks actually get more screen time than him.
right. But the whole creepy cult leader thing is how you easily explain a child criminal being part of their group because
Yeah,
cults prey upon children whenever possible.
and they tend to want to corrupt them when they're young, so they're easily controlled when they get
Yes,
older.
yes. The term grooming comes to mind.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and we
I do wish that I do kind of wish though we had actually had TZ with us for this because the comment I made, this Kane looks like a skinny TZ. I just find that kind of funny that I noticed that, and he's not with us to even comment on the fact that I said that.
said that.
But I will say Kane, in my opinion, is a far. I think this is also part of the reason there are people that don't like this movie. Kane is a much weaker villain than Clarence Boddicker
Yeah.
or even Dick Jones. I guess Miss Fox would be the stand-in for Dick Jones, and
Yeah.
yes, she's not as interesting as him either.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the only interesting thing that goes on for Kane is that he gets shoved into the Robocop 2 suit and has to deal with his past coworkers as well as being the subject of OCP's new guardianship.
I mean, overall, who you say is the stronger villain, the psychiatrist or the drug cult leader?
The psychiatrist.
Physically, the drug guy, yeah, especially later on. But
Yeah, but the fact that it's just he's really what you would see as the real threat, but then she basically takes over, and the only reason he's even still going is because she decides to use his brain for the RoboCop program.
yeah,
So thus he continues to be a threat because if not, he would have just still been in the hospital on life support.
Yeah, he never would have been able to hurt anyone again.
Mm-hmm.
But because what she did, so it's like overall she was the mastermind, while he was just both a villain, but also a victim to a weird degree.
And yet the old man would be the overarching main villain because he kept letting her run the show and kept telling Johnson to behave himself. And he's just like, what? Are you kidding me?
Basically, everybody at OCP other than Johnson reaped what they sowed.
Yeah. Johnson's about the only one who behaved himself for the most part. And the only time he backstabbed is when it was within the company.
Yeah. He's the one.
Like,
he's the one rational person in the room because while the freaking lawyer was shitting on everyone, saying that they need to repair RoboCop, like Johnson is like, he is the face of our company. We can't just leave him dangling by a thread.
Yeah, and with how the things are with the whole OCP trying to take the city, he knows for a fact you need to have a good relation or a good image to keep people's trust. Just betting RoboCop was putting them making their bad light look just worse,
Right.
And he knew that. He was,
And,
but of course his boss wasn't listening.
And while we could talk about Angie, I don't think there's much to say about
not
her.
too much.
Not really.
Because
she's sidekick and she doesn't have too many lines.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, her character is just a piece of ass for Kane.
Yeah,
basically.
So I will say the only other character that's really worth talking about is Hob.
Yeah,
which is interesting. Hob causes Robo to have a couple of quick flashbacks to his own son, in particular after he's shocked by the kid shooting at him. Hob also, as we find out later, is the main one running around as the face person that actually pushes the drugs and sells them off to people. But he also seems to be pretty fresh-faced to this because later on when Kane is killing one of the police officers who's corrupt, Duffy, he forces Hob to watch, and Hob is not enjoying it.
No, Angie states she just thought they were just going to scare him.
Yeah, that's what Kane told them.
Scared?
Yeah. So then actually see him getting literally cut open, alive and awake, is like really messed up. And he's forcing Hob to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, Hob is a really weird name.
Yeah. I think it's technically his last name, but I forget what his first name was.
And then the IMDb, he's just credited
and
as
then
Hob.
In IMDb, he's just Hob, yeah. He's also interesting that he gets a little bit of a turnaround by the end. He kind of pseudo takes over for Kane, says F Kane in the psycho way he wanted to run things.
Yeah.
Wanted to at least take a big part in the city, of whether or not how corrupt he was going to be about it, who knows?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like he wanted to become a more professional criminal, kind of like a mafia boss, rather than the whole cult leader
Weird
thing.
cult leader thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I almost kind of wonder if, because what happened with Kane, maybe Hob was just that traumatized by what happened with Duffy that he almost saw this as, we gotta get rid of Kane because he's more screwed up than we thought.
Well, I'm sure that's part of the reason he didn't want to try and save him like Angie did. On top of the fact that he's in a hospital surrounded by cops, it's like you're not like he kind of came off as an asshole, not wanting to save him, but at the same time, Angie was being stupid.
Yeah.
And I'll say that he had a very interesting turnaround, kind of, again, trying to undermine Kane, but also getting got by him and kind of having I don't say emotional, but a much more heartfelt ending to him as he passed away, understanding what his situation was, is that he was about to die.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And at least he went out trying to give RoboCop as much information as he could.
right. And
Right.
it was a weird thing where the fact that he's a kid kind of became, finally came out of him when RoboCop was gonna leave to try and get medical assistance, but he knew he wasn't gonna make it. So he's like, just don't leave me by myself when I'm dying, please. More or
Yeah,
less.
which is a
Mhm.
which is a very understandable thing going in real life. How some people might just realize they might not gonna make it, and they rather not be alone.
You don't want the last thing you see to just be
Pile of
nothing.
money and you dying, bleeding out into it. Yeah,
Yeah,
by yourself.
I think it's just more than just dying by yourself is a scary prospect. And at least maybe somebody there can make it the passing more comfortable.
Right. It's a common theme,
Yeah,
especially when it involves a character who's a kid
young.
or a teenager,
Hmm.
or because like one of the most in scenes from Justice League that everyone remembers is what was the girl's
Oh,
name from that one gang?
um, the Royal Flush.
Yeah, was it Ace?
I think it was Ace. I'm checking.
Where she had some sort of power that like screwed her up, where she realized she was gonna die, and
Yeah,
she could have technically just like destroyed everything, but she was willing to just die if Batman stayed there with her.
yeah, and yes, it was Ace. She was basically part of a lab experiment, government experiment, and yeah, the fact that Waller is when Batman was the one who volunteered with Waller to take the device to end her, but we all know, and she knew, Batman would never use it, no matter what, and he just stayed with her till she just peacefully passed.
That was it's just
So
it's one of
yeah,
those things where if it's used well, it can be a really effective emotional gut punch.
Hmm.
yeah, yes,
And while it's not a overly whelming big gut punch, it is a very interesting moment. I would say.
Yeah, because it's a in his case, it's a character you don't really feel that sorry for him because he hasn't done anything good the entire movie.
no,
But again, also at the last moments he's got, he's not only doesn't want to be alone, but he's trying to give us as much information as he can too, so they know what they're up against for the last act.
Right. So I think we've more or less discussed what's worth discussing. The thing is, we always have more ammunition when we actually hate the movie.
Yeah,
yeah, like
and to be fair, there are other characters in this movie, but a lot of them are like barely background characters
Yeah,
that
they're
have
too minor. They're
maybe a
too
couple
minor.
lines.
Because it's like Duffy was important for the plot, but what are you going to say about a fat cop that's taking bribe money?
Yeah.
not
It's
much really.
it's he's basically a cliche.
And then there's the two scientists that are still working on RoboCop and trying to keep him in one piece.
Could
But
mention
again, that's all they
yeah.
are, and that's all they really do.
Could mention the lawyer for OCP Holt's gang, but like he's literally just the stereotypical scummy
Asshole
lawyer.
lawyer.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and sadly, he's one who doesn't get shot by Kings for Robocop 2.
No, well he's got to be there to help set up Fox for the fall.
I
Yeah.
know.
I think that's it. So we'll go with our final thoughts. Start with you, Matt.
Final thoughts on RoboCop 2. So this is my first time actually seeing this one, at least all the way through. I think I've seen ending bits of this here and there scattered before. I will say, final thoughts. It's not as satirical as the original, and not as heavy-minded about it. But I will say the action scenes are actually pretty darn good. Um, the characters are pretty well represented and still carry over fairly decently from the first movie. Although it does feel like Alex is kind of going under a pseudo reboot. Like he seems kind of lost at first in the beginning of the movie. But he definitely comes around, and by the end, you're rooting for him all over again. Um, a lot of the a lot of the returning side characters are also pretty good. Just generally overall, a pretty solid sequel. There are a few things I will have maybe fixed, but in general, I couldn't say you could do much better than this. It just a nice, more actiony follow up to the original.
Right.
Mm.
What about you, Junix?
Um, I think I definitely like the first one more, but I would say I think there's a lot more fights in the second one, which I always enjoy. Um, good as the first, just a little downgrade on a couple aspects.
Yeah, it's like I said. I mentioned this when I think I mentioned this after we finished watching it. It's like I remember the Nostalgia Critic did a review of this, and the way he treated this kind of actually makes me think of how I actually feel about RoboCop 3. And I didn't really understand the amount of hate he had for this. It reminded me of like how he watched the first Mortal Kombat movie and he shit all over it. And then everyone's like, dude, you haven't even seen Mortal Kombat Annihilation yet. Like, that's way worse. Like, yeah, you guys remember that? Like when Nostalgia Critic was
Yeah,
I don't
talking.
mhm,
recall that
yeah,
reaction, but I do recall going, dude, you're really hating this on a little hard.
yeah. No, I
You're hating this one pretty bad when there's a much worse sequel that you haven't even watched yet.
yeah.
Um, and I didn't get his hatred of this. Like I said, I can understand some people thinking this is not as good as the first one for a multitude of reasons. The villains are not
That's
as they're
rememberable.
not as memorable or interesting. Kane, in spite of being like a major focus of the plot, I don't think he had any memorable lines.
Not
Not
really,
particularly. He's
Cl-
because
just usual
he
cult
basically
clone.
yeah, he was basically quoting like he was God quotes kind of thing.
yeah, Clarence Boddicker had like way more memorable lines.
Oh yeah,
A-
very.
And
very
and Dick Jones as opposed to Fox, like he was a character that he was a scummy piece of shit, but he earned the position he was in at OCP. He didn't suck someone's dick to get there.
yeah,
So it's the characters are just kind in that regard are kind of a downgrade, but we get to see a much better RoboCop versus RoboCop 2 fight, which I think is what I think people expected to actually see out of like
mhm,
RoboCop versus Ed 209 in the first
yeah,
movie.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Because
instead,
that's
that movie and that fight ended in like a flash.
I was gonna say, you thought it would be the whole Robocop fighting Ed was gonna be cool, but let's face it, first fight is just Robocop running away and Ed falling down the stairs and can't get up. Second fight is Robocop shows up with a big gun, shoots, and Ed's already gone.
Yeah, yeah,
End of story. Where Robocop 2, you actually have probably at least, a good part of the third act is just them two fighting, which is good
Is
because it's way
exactly
more
what
than
you
we.
want of a sci-fi action flick.
Yeah.
Bam, kapow.
and I can also see people having an issue with the fact that in this movie, OCP clearly just shifts to a completely evil company,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
in the first movie, they were a regular. I mean, people might say
Well,
and every corporation's evil, but they were
well, yeah.
portrayed as being normal that just had one or two bad eggs in it.
Hmm.
So it's a very drastic so some people might feel it was an unnatural progression of the story. I can understand that. But
Yeah.
overall, as a movie where we get to see more RoboCop, more action, and I don't really I guess I can't really even say that RoboCop's character progressed that much because he's still kind of in the same
Yeah.
position. But
I kind of made a comment about it. It felt like he went backwards on his character development.
Well, I think the
And
thing
then
is they had to they had to just cement the idea of no, he's not going to get back together with his wife. That's not happening. We're going to
right,
bury that plot idea being a possibility right here and
right.
now because we're not going to try to write a romance between a robot and a woman. We're not going to do it. Uh,
Maybe I get that aspect, but at the same time, I was saying it seemed like the whole "I'm a machine." No, wait, I'm human inside, and then we go backwards, only for him to go forward again by the end.
I'm a machine, but I like tacos.
Yeah, more or less.
But overall, I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's a good movie. It's a tolerable sequel. I have no issue having a copy of this on Blu-ray in my collection. Whereas RoboCop 3, that's not going to fucking happen, and I'm going to have plenty to say about that next week.
Well, I'll have some scathing remarks about Ed 209 turning into puppies.
Unfortunately, Ojunix's schedule will probably not allow him to be with us next
But
week.
we'll
We'll
see.
see if it when we'll see when we get to that. But
If not, I hope you enjoy the movie.
yes. So until next time, in which we will talk about. I don't know if it's the worst movie in the series because I haven't seen the reboot yet.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's
We're
a possibility. There was a
next
possibility
next
something worse.
next time we're going to talk about what is currently my considered worst movie in the series. So until next time, everybody, have a good one.
Pleasant dreams.
Good night.